Imagine your boss slides a contract across the table. It offers you a life-changing amount of money, a salary so big it makes your eyes water. For the average WNBA player, that fantasy just became a reality. An offer that would take their salary from around $130,000 a year to over $500,000 instantly.
The WNBA likely needs to agree to a CBA by February. WNBA could be weeks away from delaying season. They've got a CBA on the table. Well, the players countered it. Okay, the owners didn't acknowledge it. It tells you all you need to know. They've already come out and said, hey, we're going to lose $700 million with what they're proposing. They're not going to do it.
A deal that would make the league's top stars millionaires from their team salary alone. Most people would snatch that paper, sign it before the ink even dries, and start shopping for a private island. But the WNBA players, they looked at this mountain of cash and walked away. This isn't a simple negotiation anymore. It's a high-stakes game of chicken being played with the entire future of women's basketball. The players are betting everything on one core principle, on one word in the contract they refuse to accept, and in doing so, they've brought the league to the brink. We're talking about a potential work stoppage, a delayed season, and a quiet civil war brewing within the players' own ranks. The story you're about to hear is about how a fight for more could leave everyone with nothing. It's a cautionary tale of pride, principle, and the kind of gamble that can turn a golden age into a wasteland seemingly overnight. This is the story of the deal that was supposed to save the WNBA but might just end up threatening it. The battle lines are drawn. On one side, the league owners, armed with what they call the richest deal in the history of women's professional sports. On the other, the players, united under a banner of defiance, rejecting what looks like a lottery win. But this isn't just about money. It's about control, respect, and a fundamental disagreement over how to slice up a rapidly growing pie. As of late January 2026, the negotiations have completely stalled. A key deadline for a new collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, passed on January 9th, and the silence from both sides has been deafening. We are now in a tense limbo known as a status quo period, where the old contract rules still technically apply, but the threat of a work stoppage hangs in the air. In a sign of just how serious they are, the players' union voted to authorize a strike back in December, a weapon they've never actually used but are keeping in their back pocket, according to Union VP Brianna Stewart. In response, the league made a bold move. They released a full 44-game schedule for the 2026 season, pretending like it's business as usual, with the first game set for May 8th, but everyone knows it's a ghost schedule, a phantom season. Without a signed CBA, there will be no free agency, no expansion draft for the new teams in Toronto and Portland, and certainly no games. It's a multi-million-dollar stare-down, and to understand who might blink first, you have to look at the shocking details of the deal that was rejected. To truly grasp what the players turned down, you have to understand just how far the league was willing to go. The owners didn't just offer a raise, they proposed a complete teardown and rebuild of the WNBA's financial structure. This wasn't a little extra cash, it was a revolution on paper. Let's talk numbers, because they are staggering. Under the old system in 2025, the absolute most a superstar could earn was just under $250,000 in base salary. The new offer from the owners would have obliterated that ceiling. The proposal guaranteed a maximum base salary of a flat $1 million. But it didn't stop there. With revenue-sharing kickers, that number could immediately jump to over $1.3 million in the very first year. And the wealth wasn't just for the MVPs. The proposal aimed to lift all boats. The average WNBA salary, which hovered around a respectable but modest figure, would have more than quadrupled overnight to an average of over $530,000. Suddenly, being an average WNBA player means you're comfortably in the top 1% of income earners. The players at the bottom of the roster, the ones fighting for their spot, would have seen the most dramatic change. The league minimum salary would have skyrocketed from about $66,000 to over $225,000 in year one. From struggling to make ends meet to $250,000, guaranteed. The entire financial landscape was set to be transformed. The team salary cap, which was a restrictive $1.5 million in 2025, was proposed to start at $5 million in 2026. From the owner's perspective, this was the grand gesture. A massive commitment designed to share the league's recent success and end the narrative of underpaid female athletes. They presented it as the deal of a lifetime. So why on earth would anyone reject it? The answer lies in a single three-letter word hidden in the fine print. a word that turned this dream deal into what the players saw as a gilded cage, net. The owners offered the players a massive share, roughly 70% of the league's net revenue. And that one word is the fuse that lit this entire powder keg. When the players saw the word net, they didn't see a partnership, they saw a trap. And their response wasn't just a refusal, it was a radical counterproposal that showed just how far apart the two sides are. The players' union, the WNBPA, fired back with a demand of their own. They wanted 30% of the league's gross revenue. To the casual fan, the difference between net and gross might sound like boring accounting jargon. But in pro sports, it is everything. It is the entire war. Gross revenue is the total amount of money the league makes from every source. Every ticket, every TV ad, every jersey, every dollar from the massive new media rights deal. It's the full pot of gold before any expenses are paid. Net revenue, on the other hand, is what's left after the owners deduct all their operating costs, and that list of costs can be very, very long. The players saw the 70% of net offer as a mathematical sleight of hand. One financial analysis laid out their fears perfectly. If the league brought in, say, $350 million in gross revenue, the owners could potentially claim $280 million in expenses. That would leave a net profit of only $70 million. The players' 70% share of that would be $49 million, just 14% of the original $350 million. They feared net revenue was a number the owners could manipulate, a figure that could be shrunk with creative accounting until their huge percentage was worth far less than it appeared. So they countered, demanding 30% of the gross and a whopping $10.5 million salary cap. This wasn't a negotiation, it was a statement. As Aja Wilson, the league's dominant force, put it, the players are simply standing on business. She elaborated in an interview saying they want a fair agreement based on what they're missing in their own business, not a comparison to the NBA. The owners were stunned. The league, which has historically claimed it has yet to turn a profit, was aghast. Insiders immediately began leaking to the press that the union's proposal was completely unsustainable, claiming it could cost the WNBA approximately $700 million over the life of the deal. Players pushed back. Nafisa Collier, a star for the Minnesota Lynx and a vice president for the union, has been blunt. If they can't find a model that makes it happen, she stated, they need to put people in place who can. The league's response to this audacious counter? Silence. As of late January, they still had not formally responded to the proposal the union sent nearly a month ago. And caught in the middle is the very soul of the league. The swagger and confidence coming from the players' union isn't just born from belief. It's funded by a powerful new kingdom that has risen completely outside the WNBA's control. It's a 3-on-3 league called Unrivaled, and it has completely changed the power dynamic. Co-founded by WNBA stars Breanna Stewart and the same Nafisa Collier, who is a VP of the union, Unrivaled was created to be a high-level, high-paying off-season option for WNBA players. And it has succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. In its first season, Unrivaled reportedly paid its players an average salary of around $220,000 for just an 8-week season. To put that in perspective, that's significantly more than the average WNBA salary under the old CBA, for a fraction of the time. No player in Unrivaled made less than 6 figures, and some were even given equity, making them part owners. Suddenly, the WNBA is not the only game in town. For the elite players, it's not even the most lucrative on a per diem basis. This is the source of the union's iron will. A significant number of the WNBA's top players are playing in Unrivaled. For this privileged group, Unrivaled is a massive financial cushion. If the WNBA owners decide to lock them out, this elite portion of the league will still be collecting huge paychecks. It's the ultimate leverage. They can afford to wait. But herein lies the terrifying unspoken truth of this conflict. What about the other players? What about the role players, the bench players, the young women on minimum contracts who are not part of the Unrivaled kingdom? For them, there is no 6-figure cushion. Their main source of income is their WNBA salary. They often spend their off-seasons hoping for small endorsements or playing in grueling overseas leagues to make ends meet. This is the brutal reality the owners may be counting on. If a work stoppage happens, it is this group, the majority of the union, that will feel the economic pain first. The pressure on them to break ranks, to push the union leadership to take the deal on the table, will be immense. A quiet but powerful conflict is brewing between the haves and the have-nots. The owners know that union solidarity is only as strong as its most vulnerable members, and as the days tick by, that vulnerability grows. Looming over this entire landscape is the specter of one player, Caitlin Clark. She is the billion-dollar variable, the phenom who has single-handedly supercharged the league's popularity, and is, in a strange way, both the reason for the players' demands and the greatest risk to their strategy. Clark herself is not a central actor in these negotiations. As a rookie, she's not in union leadership, but the Caitlin Clark effect is the undeniable context for this fight. The numbers surrounding her are on another planet. While her official WNBA rookie salary is modest, her off-court earnings are estimated to be worth tens of millions of dollars. She is a walking, breathing economic boom. One professor of finance estimated that Clark was responsible for over 26% of all WNBA economic activity in her first season, with merchandise sales rising 500% and TV viewership for her games skyrocketing. They see the tidal wave of revenue Clark has unleashed and feel the owner's offer, as generous as it seems, doesn't adequately reflect this new reality. They are fighting for their share of the massive new pie that Caitlin Clark helped bake. However, Clark is also the player's biggest vulnerability. The momentum the WNBA is enjoying is fragile. It is built on the excitement she has generated. A work stoppage would be a catastrophic blow. For the millions of new fans who tuned in to watch Clark, a labor dispute is the fastest way to alienate them. The narrative could quickly shift. The public, which largely supports the players' fight for fair pay, could easily turn on them, viewing them as greedy for rejecting a deal with a massive pay increase. It's a brutal paradox. Clark's popularity gives the players the leverage to demand more, but a work stoppage risks destroying the very popularity that gives them that leverage in the first place. If the players succeed, it will be because they argued her value should lift all ships. If they fail, she will be remembered as the golden goose the players gambled away. As the standoff intensifies, the raw emotion of the players is starting to boil over. This isn't just a corporate negotiation, it's personal. Players like Phoenix Mercury's Sophie Cunningham have publicly called the state of negotiations so dumb right now and warned that the league is heading toward a lockout. Even the league's biggest star has taken to social media. Shortly after the league released its ghost schedule, Aja Wilson posted a clip with the ominous caption, "Somebody better start talking right now before I start screaming." Other players like Azora Stevens simply posted question marks in response to the schedule announcement, highlighting the absurdity of the situation. This public frustration paints a picture of a union that feels deeply disrespected. This fight feels unprecedented, but the WNBA has a history of tense labor battles. The very first CBA in 1999 was a landmark deal that raised the minimum salary for veterans from a paltry $15,000 to $30,000. It's a reminder that every benefit players have today was fought for. But the league has never, in its nearly 30-year history, lost games to a work stoppage. A lockout or a strike is uncharted and terrifying territory. The immediate consequences are already piling up. Free agency is indefinitely paused. The expansion draft for the two new teams in Toronto and Portland cannot happen. General managers are completely in the dark, unable to plan for the future. The entire machinery of the league has ground to a halt. The ghost of lockouts from other sports leagues whispers warnings of what's to come, lost paychecks and alienated fans. We are now at a precipice. The WNBA's doomsday clock is ticking. Both sides have dug in, creating a game of mutually assured destruction. The owners have their ghost schedule, a public performance of confidence designed to pressure the players. The players have their strike authorization, a clear signal that they are prepared for a long fight. The path forward now splits into two starkly different realities. Path 1 is the optimistic, albeit chaotic scenario. A deal is made. Let's imagine one side blinks. A compromise is reached, likely meeting somewhere in the middle of the net and gross debate. If a deal is signed by early February, the season could theoretically be salvaged, but it would be a mad dash. Free agency would be condensed into a chaotic few weeks. The expansion draft would be hastily conducted. The season would start on time, but the league would be bruised and battered. Then there is Path 2, the abyss, the lockout. If no deal is reached, the owners will almost certainly lock the players out, shutting down all team facilities and freezing salaries. May 8th would come and go with silence in empty arenas. The players not cushioned by unrivaled money would see their income drop to zero. The pressure within the union would reach a boiling point, as players are forced to choose between solidarity and survival. The damage to the league could be irreversible. The momentum of the Caitlin Clark era would be squandered. Fans, once excited, would become disgusted and disillusioned. Viewership would plummet. Sponsors would get nervous. A lockout doesn't just pause a season, it kills momentum. It could set the league back a decade if it survives at all. This isn't just a fight over a few percentage points. It's a fight for the very future of the WNBA. So there you have the anatomy of a high-stakes gamble that has pushed the WNBA to the edge. We have owners offering what they see as a historic deal, and we have players more empowered than ever who see that offer as a gilded cage and are willing to risk everything for what they believe is a truly fair partnership. They are rejecting guaranteed millions in the present for a percentage of a potentially much larger fortune in the future. Is this a righteous crusade for economic justice? Or is it a catastrophic miscalculation where, in a fight for the perfect deal, they lose the league itself? The tragic irony is that these players aren't at risk of losing it all through reckless spending. They're at risk of losing it all by rejecting the biggest payday of their lives on principle. The question now is terrifyingly simple. Who blinks first? The owners with their spreadsheets and profit statements, or the players with their principles and newfound leverage? And when the dust settles, will there be anything left for the victor to claim? I want to know what you think. Do you? Who is right in this fight? Are the players right to demand a share of the gross revenue, or are they being unrealistic? Let me know your honest opinion in the comments below. This situation is changing by the day, so make sure you subscribe. We'll be tracking every development as this ticking time bomb counts down to what could be either the WNBA's brightest dawn or its darkest hour.